has the Department of Justice talked to Deputy Secretary Feinberg about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, which are clearly spelled out in the files? It's a very simple question. It's not a trick question. I'm just asking you.
Yeah, I'm stunned that you want to continue talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Epstein
Okay, I'm reclaiming my time. I'm asking you not a trick question, a simple question. Okay, so what is clear is we have evidence.
Do you know who Chris Malin is?
We have evidence that 3 senior officials within the Trump administration have ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And what
does ties mean?
I can conclude from what you are saying that you have not talked to them.
What does ties mean?
I think Americans would be shocked to learn that you are not interested in talking with these officials who have ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
What does ties mean? Can you define that?
Across the world, prominent men who've been exposed in the files have resigned their jobs in disgrace. And that's a good first start. And that same standard,
not saying the word Chris Malin.
Standard should apply here. And Americans want accountability.
Who is Chris Malin?
Was the president aware? Please stop talking. It is not your time to ask questions. It is not your time. I'm reclaiming my time, Mr. Chair.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Vermont.
Was the president aware of Secretary Lutnick's ties to Epstein when he chose him to lead the Department of Commerce? Was he aware?
Chris Malin was a Border Patrol agent.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude that the president, in fact, did know about his ties because he was the next door neighbor.
Shame on you.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
This
is pathetic. This is pathetic, Mr. Chair.
Will be in order.
I am not asking trick questions here. The American people have a right to know the answers to this. These are senior officials in the Trump administration. This is not a game, Secretary.
Last week, this hearing drew attention not because of raised voices, but because several direct questions never received direct answers. As the exchange unfolded, it became clear that the issue was not limited to one remark or one official. It centered on how those in power respond when confronted with uncomfortable questions, and how often the conversation shifts when those questions become too specific. During the House hearing, Vermont Representative Becca Balint pressed DOJ witness Pam Bondi with a straightforward line of questioning. The issue was not whether a crime had been committed. The issue was whether the Department of Justice had spoken to senior officials whose names appear in documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein. It was a basic procedural question, but the answers did not match the simplicity of the ask. Bondi's responses repeatedly drifted away from that core point. At times, she referenced the murder of a Border Patrol agent. At other moments, the exchange became focused on definitions and wording. Meanwhile, the underlying question remained unanswered. Had DOJ actually engaged with these officials, or had it not? Balint returned to that same point again and again because that was the record the public was listening for. When the word ties was used, visible discomfort followed. Bondi repeatedly asked what ties meant. In political and legal analysis, this kind of focus on terminology is often seen as a signal that an official is avoiding the substance of the question. The Epstein documents are not limited to criminal acts alone. They reference contacts, meetings, and social networks. Balint's question was whether DOJ had taken those elements seriously. At that point, the name Howard Lutnick entered the discussion. The question was not about guilt, it was about process. When Lutnick was selected to lead the Department of Commerce, was his background reviewed thoroughly, and was the president aware of his reported contacts connected to Epstein? This was a question about vetting and transparency, not an accusation. That question also went unanswered in a clear, record-based way. This was the moment when tension in the room increased. Balint argued that if a Democrat's name had appeared in Epstein-related files, scrutiny would have come quickly and publicly. When names connected to a Republican administration are involved, however, the conversation shifts toward procedures, definitions, or unrelated events. Bondi's repeated references to the Border Patrol agent's murder were viewed through that lens. The death was serious and tragic, but it was raised at moments when the hearing was focused on DOJ's handling of Epstein-related questions. Balint made clear that invoking unrelated tragedies does not resolve unanswered questions about accountability. When Balint said, "I'm reclaiming my time," It was not simply a procedural phrase. In U.S. hearings, that line is typically used when a witness continues to avoid the question being asked. It signaled that the exchange was no longer producing substantive answers. Saying that Bondi was deliberately trying to shield major Republican figures would be a direct accusation, and the record does not establish that. What the record does show is that key questions were not addressed directly, sensitive names were avoided, and the discussion was repeatedly redirected. News reporting has consistently noted that appearing in Epstein-related files does not, by itself, establish wrongdoing. At the same time, those same reports emphasize that avoiding inquiry altogether undermines public trust. Balint's focus remained narrow and consistent. Were conversations held, and was any review conducted? The impact of this hearing extended beyond the room itself. When the Department of Justice does not offer clear answers, confidence in institutions erodes. This exchange was not about one individual. It was about whether accountability standards are applied evenly. The hearing did not reach a definitive conclusion, but it clarified something important. There are questions that make power uncomfortable. In a functioning democracy, those questions do not disappear simply because they are inconvenient, Balint asked them. Bondi's responses did not resolve them. That is why this hearing moved beyond routine politics and became a test of accountability. If you found this breakdown helpful, please support the channel by subscribing, liking the video, and sharing your thoughts in the comments.